Chartraw gives it to Robinson. Robinson shooting it in. Tremblay going in. He's bumping with Boutette. Boutette takes over. Now it's to the side of the net. Turnbull with Lambert after him. They go into the boards. And Boutette going back in there to check Tremblay. They may start something.
Well, I'll tell you, Jerry, you can talk about your Lafleurs and Sittlers and McDonald's, but you have to wonder if this sort of thing keeps going, if the boys in the trenches aren't the ones who are going to decide it. Now we've got a bit of a wrestling match going on. Rick Chartraw, and I think it's Jimmy Jones. It is.
That's a mismatch, too, and you have to give the Toronto Maple Leafs credit. They've got a game plan, and they intend to stick to it, but I'm just not so sure that it's the right game plan to beat the Montreal Canadiens, because, as we've mentioned time and again, the Montreal Canadiens have a very physical hockey club.
In the interview that I pre-recorded with Darryl Sittler, he has some interesting comments to make as to what might happen if the series gets a little physical. And I think some very sensible comments, too.
Well, Pat Boutette, I noticed earlier in the shift when he was playing against Guy Lafleur, was covering him just like a shadow. Every move Lafleur made, even hanging back deep in the Montreal zone, Boutette was right there with him. So they're obviously not going to give him much breathing room in this series.
Mentioning what the penalties are doing to the Leafs personnel-wise. Oh, here we go now. Boutette and Tremblay. You know, Jerry, you could count on the fingers of one hand the number of fights the Canadiens had in this building in the regular season. Here we are in the first period of this series, and we've got this sort of thing going on.
Well, they're letting them go at it here. It looks like they're going to break them up now, but this is something that Toronto really didn't have to face against Atlanta, and if they're going to hit game in and game out against the Montreal Canadiens, then they're going to have to fight game in and game out. And that's not a very good prospect to look at when you've got 7 games to go. It's a very tiring way to play the game.
These are the two who started that whole thing. They sort of had a bit of a confrontation and nothing happened then. Chartraw and Jones get in on the act. And then they decided to come up with part 2. So there you have Tremblay being convoyed to the penalty box.
You notice when this scrapping and whatnot is going on that not too many people really walk up to Larry Robinson and drop their gloves and say, let's go. And I think that's an indication of really how strong the Montreal Canadiens are.
Some of the fans getting a little fractious in back of the penalty box. Well, there you have it. The Maple Leafs lead the hockey game 1-0. This Stanley Cup playoff game is coming to you from the Forum in Montreal.
Look into a new North American-built Ford or Lincoln Mercury car sold in Canada for advanced technology. The 7 anti-corrosion processes of the DuraGuard system. Pre-coated steel, galvanized steel, phosphate tunnel spray, corrosion-resistant primer, vinyl sealer, vinyl coating, and aluminized wax. The DuraGuard system is backed by a manufacturer's warranty against corrosion perforation. Depend on the DuraGuard system. Protection that's built in right from the start.
5 minutes pour s'être battu. Le temps des punitions, 14 minutes.
Well, here's how it all began as we listen to the penalties.
Number 27, Rick Chartraw, 2 minutes for roughing, and to number 14, Fabio Tremblay, 5 minutes for fighting, and 14:08.
So, Danny, they will play 5 aside. The major penalties went to Tremblay and Boutette, but the minors, Chartraw and Jones, that's why they'll play 5 aside. So the Chartraw-Jones situation, the only one showing on the penalty clock.
Toronto Maple Leafs 1, Montreal Canadiens no score. McDonald from Turnbull and Sittler.